Hi, Omar. Thank you so much for talking to BPF.
Sure. Thank you very much for having me here.
Can you tell us about your journey in the fashion industry? What inspired you to become a designer?
So, yeah, coming from a textilian family from Faisalabad, from four generations, we are into textiles. So, I was the kid who wasn't the best in mathematics and English, so I was good in arts. So, I merged my arts with my family textiles and become a fashion designer.
With roots both in Pakistan and in the UK, how have these cultures influenced your designs?
You see, we came from affluent backgrounds in a way that we would go to the Beacon houses and English medium schools. So we studied the British curriculum anyway, the Oxford Press, etc. books. So for me, coming to Britain wasn't a massive cultural shock. Uh, we were speaking English, we were consuming English products back home also. Uh, but to understanding the British lifestyle, to do your own laundry yourself, to cook your own food, to do your own cleaning was the culture shock in my case. So the reason why I said the affluent background does have an impact on you when you come to Western country because our challenges are different to challenges from people from a certain background. I was lucky enough, Alhamdulillah, that for me, in understanding the British culture and merging with the Pakistani culture wasn't a very big deal to understand. The whole idea was to know how things can actually work when they're together rather than how they can be conflicting.
What's your creative process like when designing a collection? Where do you find inspiration?
So I always look for a muse first of all. Uh, Usually they are from the modern history. Well, it was from a very ancient history, more than 6,000 years ago. Uh, so I look for the muse. I study the whole concept, even if it's a British theatre. Just like once did a very hit collection, my personal favorite, After the Dance. It was titled after that epic British theater play. So I went to their set, I went to their backstage, I watched the play a few times to understand the whole concept of hedonism and how to communicate the whole, not just the story, but the whole ambience and the mindset behind the theater. So yeah, I studied the whole concept. If like recently, I did a collection on the Indus Valley civilization titled Meluhas. So I went to the museum. I did online search. I met the gentleman who runs the Indus Valley Foundation in Pakistan, and sat with some archaeologists in Paris even who have done some kind of research in Pakistan or still doing. So the idea is to understand the whole concept, then merge it into my signature style, which is the Pakistani embroidery, and then understand what's the market trends are currently. Previously, what the sales report says about my brand and about the other brands. So which cuts are actually selling. So it's a whole what you call melange of everything that I have to mix. 33% should be or 30% should be creative product, 70% should be commercial product, which people find maybe mediocre for the catwalk, but they are actually bringing the sales. And mixing them with the color trending next season and merging them with my theme and my signature style. So this is the whole.
How do you balance traditional Pakistani elements with modern Western fashion trends?
That's very interesting. Actually, every collection has this challenge. I must say, well, challenge, because Pakistani embroideries, what considered like for example, shadow work is considered very classy in Pakistan because it's warm weather. It looks good on small, sheer fabrics, muslin, chiffons, cotton lawns, etc. But it doesn't work here. So if you do shadow work on the silk or a thicker fabric, it will just show the top and not the shadow in itself. Uh, Knowing what sells here, maybe what we call French knots or moti tanka, understanding that, and on the fabrics which your dry cleaner can take. So I think the dry cleaner is more of a boss than the customer itself, because they can buy a pure silk fabric for me. They can have Swarovskis all over it, and when they wear it 2 3 times and they take it to the dry cleaner and says no, I'm not taking it. So that's where the challenge starts. So the challenges are different over here because the labor lifestyle is different, the weather is different, the humidity levels are different for certain fabrics and certain embroideries. So putting the Pakistani element is always kind of challenging. Sometimes I really want a certain kind of tanka or stitch on it, and which doesn't work for this. That's where I have to compensate with my own mind, so the war stays inside my mind and heart.
What role does sustainability play in your designs?
So I jumped on the sustainable bandwagon in 2019 when the Fashion Pact was signed in Paris. So one of my university professor was working on it, and he asked some of my feedback. And when I gave him a massive feedback, because I used to go to the cotton fields as a child, check the humidity of the cotton with those digital thermometers kind of things. Uh, I told them a lot about it. So then I was asked to be part of that pact report to contribute more than what I could have or should have. But after that, they asked me to do a course with it. And I did a course with London College of Fashion, another one on sustainability. And then I understood that how important it is that because I personally lead a sustainable lifestyle. I don't believe in just to pretend to be I'm too posh. I start misusing things and disposing them very quickly. So that was going with some internal ethos, and then yeah, sustainable bandwagon came.
You've been showcased at London Fashion Week for several years. What was that experience like?
The palpitation is always there. This time, literally, when I reached the finale, and the photographer says, "Come forward, come forward." So I start running. So yeah, I think from 2008, the very first time I came, I was more excited, more confident. But with the passage of time, I think the responsibility to make an impact, to keep the mark, keep the flag, now flags high, is bringing its impact. But yeah, it's always challenging. It's always interesting, and it always gives me immense pleasure. To be very honest.
What are some of the challenges you face as a British Pakistani designer, and how did you overcome them?
So when I launched my label in 2008, sadly Pakistan was entering in a very difficult phase, which we have a little bit as Pakistan came out of it as compared to 15, 16 years ago. Um, for me, everybody used to look, Pakistani doing a Western kind of dress. You sure? You think you're going to survive? And it was actually coming more from the diaspora as compared to the other nationalities living here, and they were actually more supportive. So I think I was taking advantage of the situation. I came up from the different side that okay, you all want to focus here. There's another news coming. It was challenging. I mean, the ambassador at that time, Dr. Maliha Lodi, was very supportive, giving her experience and expertise to me. I will be always thankful to her for that. But yeah, being a Pakistani designer wasn't much of a challenge. I think being a new designer entering in a crunch era was more of a challenge for me.
Can you share a career highlight that holds a special meaning for you?
Yeah, dressing some Middle Eastern royalties and dressing Susanna Reid for the Oscars red carpet was in 2009. Like I just started my career, and a year after my dress is on Oscars red carpet, worn by a lady who's on the screen for a few hours. That was kind of a bit overwhelming experience. And recently, I got the national award from the government of Uzbekistan. So that's again a highlight.
How do you see the fashion industry evolving for British Pakistanis and South Asian designers?
You see, the fashion industry itself in Britain is very much challenging and evolving. So no matter whichever diaspora ethnic background you're coming from, it doesn't much makes much difference. But if you want to work sales wise rather than the statement wise, I mean, for me, I always says not your statement matters but my bank statement matters. So in that case, you have to understand what actually sells. Just make what market wants, with your own ethos, your own signature style. I remember in my very first collection was all full with Swarovskis and hand embroideries and feathers and whatnot, but now it has reduced to so much that a brooch kind of a image a motif is enough for one dress.
What advice would you give to aspiring British Pakistani fashion designers who want to make a mark in the
You see,
industry?
don't ever think that there's a glass wall or glass ceiling or glass cube around you. It's always in your mind. Just think that everybody's there to compete. I mean, British Pakistanis are doing so well in the field of medicine. They're doing very well. Half of the NHS is British Pakistani doctors. It's always a Dr. Khan who gives you an appointment. Uh, Talking about the city, the Canary Wharf life, is predominantly the Asians and Pakistanis working there. So same is with the fashion industry. It's all about what kind of service you provide, what kind of value you do give to the customer. You'll make an impact, and you will definitely get a sale.
How important is it for you to give back to the community? And in what way do you
So
contribute?
for community in here in Britain, I did a program with Commonwealth and British Council. That was diaspora training program in which I have to speak to those kids and what you call youngsters from the Muslim Pakistani diaspora. The reason I said Muslim because there were some Somali kids and Bangladeshi kids also. Just to tell them that don't ever think that your ethnicity is a barrier for you to success. Just think that you are there to compete with everyone at the same. It's equal opportunity, which it is. I agree with it. Working 16 years, I never got a problem with in my fashion field with this, at least. So people do say, I think it's more of an excuse that uh, that when you don't succeed for your own fault or some other reason, you always bring your ethnicity, because I'm from this diaspora, that's why this happens. No, this happens because of other reasons. Don't always blame your diaspora for that.
What are your future plans? Are there any exciting projects or collaborations on the horizon?
Well, at the moment, giving back to the society is giving back to the Pakistani artisans in primarily south of Punjab and Multan region, which we are working with British Pakistan Foundation, British Asian Trust. It's with Karwan Crafts Foundation. So there's huge funding going to the training those artisans, and I'm bringing their work here at the fashion weeks, not just in London or Paris, even in Uzbekistan. The collection got an award. Uh, we are helping them by training and just telling them that's not just the international market they have to access to, there's a big local market also. So we are getting them online, helping them having the Instagram accounts, and we are not hiding who's the artisan behind the dress. We put a photo of the artisan holding the dress along with the dress from the catwalk and tag that artisan. So if anybody wants to contact them directly, feel free.
Thank you so much for talking to us, Umar, and BPF wishes you the very best for the
My
future.
pleasure. Thank you for having me.